Madhouse UK podcast, and it has been a while. So I'm sorry, guys, but why has it been a while? Well, I really have to just do what everyone else is doing and blame the coronavirus, which is spreading all over the world. Because of course, it puts us all on the back foot a little bit, hasn't it? So what have I been up to? Well, the game is still progressing. We've had some chat rooms where we've addressed some of the changes that people would like to the game. I'm working on the new rule book, which we've done a fair bit with. Thank you very much to the people who attended the chat room to help with that. I've done a fair bit on my own as well, making good progress. But nobody expected this to happen, did they? Now, I guess I'm lucky because a lot of businesses are in big trouble over what's going on. And I don't mean to make light of what is happening to the health of people, of course. Everything that happens is a tragedy. Anyone who gets sick, certainly someone who dies, that's very sad. And I wouldn't say otherwise, but people are also worried about their businesses, of course, because in the end, I've heard people saying, it doesn't matter about the economy as long as lives are saved, but the economy of the world is lives. That's what it is. People can't live if they can't feed themselves, if they can't pay their bills. The governments of the world are pitching in and trying to help, but the government gets its money from us, and if nobody is producing anything, then those coffers are not filling up. The governments have to start borrowing, but who's lending? All the countries are having similar problems. Nobody's got wealth of money and no coronavirus problem. So some of them are printing money, and all of these things, these economics problems. You don't want to hear about it. I know this is a game channel, and we don't want to talk about it, but it's affecting all of us. And I'm lucky, I suppose, in as much as the online game industry is not directly affected. I can work from home, can still do most of the things, but there are some effects. Obviously, if my players are getting sick or losing their jobs or having financial hard times, then that affects the game. So I've tried to do what I can in quite a small scheme of things that the games are. And what I've said to Madhouse players is, look, if something happens, like you lose your job or you've got financial difficulties or you can't spare the time because you're a nurse or whatever, don't worry. Tell me what you need us to do to make it right, and we'll do it. So a couple of players have got some financial problems. Well, money is going to be added to your account so that this does not cause you a problem. And I trust you. You've been my players for years. We are a family of sorts, and if you tell me that you need help, I'll take your word, and there won't be any questions. I'll resolve the problem that you bring to me, because the last thing that we want at the end of all this is for the game to be gone. Now, nobody wants their business to be gone, of course, and everybody's doing what they have to do within their business to try and survive this difficult time, and we're doing the same. Outside of that, I probably look quite tired to you guys. It's because I am quite tired. I don't know what you know about what I do in the real world, but I have a few other businesses, and I'm also a local councillor. And one of the problems with this big lock-in that we have here in the UK and other people have got elsewhere, you hear everybody saying, don't worry about it, it's just a matter of staying home, it's not going to cause a problem. But it's causing a lot of people problems. There are a lot of elderly people who are now very, very frightened by what's going on. And, well, rightly so, you might say, because if you're elderly and you get this, it's not good for you at all. It's a bad thing to happen. And lots of people have died. So they are quite rightly isolating themselves. But that's fine for ones with family and friends who can help them. But there are lots of people who don't have those connections, either don't have them or their family and friends are isolated because they're a long way away, or they can't come to them because they have some sort of isolation problem themselves. And these people can't get shopping. They've been told shop online. So they go to Tesco's or to Asda or whatever, and they look on the slots, and there are no slots for 3 weeks, and they're running out of everything. And sometimes they're running out of food, but what if they're running out of cat food? Now, you would say that's crazy, don't worry about that. But if you love your cat and you've got a pet and you can't feed it, what are you going to do? You're going to go out and try and get food. All of these problems create incentives for them to break the rules and go out and risk themselves. And that's where some local councillors are trying to step in. And what we're basically spending all our spare time doing is running around the shops and on behalf of elderly or vulnerable people, and picking up groceries for them, and often picking up their medicine, because another thing they can't do is quite often can't get to the doctors to pick up vital medicine to keep them well. And you'd be amazed how many of these people there are. You don't realise how many kind of isolated people with no backup there are out there. Normally they get backup from the social services or whatever, but it's not there. I mean, all the normal backup systems are suffering from similar problems. They've got people who are isolating, people who are staying at home. They've got new rules and stringent rules in place. And I'll tell you what, guys, and I will get onto the game, don't worry. This is not all going to be this stuff, but I've got to get this off my chest. I worry that the government here will up the ante again and do some sort of curfew or some sort of stronger. I mean, I frankly think that there are big problems being caused with the current direction, and I worry that about the cure being worse than the disease, and it's a bad disease. I'm not saying it isn't, but people don't realise the consequences. It's easy for you, if you live at home and you've got support and family, and you can say, well, I don't want to catch it, I don't want to give it to my grandma, so everybody be locked in your house for 6 months. But there is consequences to that, like the ones I'm talking about, and I worry that when things start happening, when you get your first newspaper article about somebody who's starved to death in their flat because they were afraid to go out, and then somebody else who went berserk because their mental health couldn't cope with it, and these stories start to stack up. I sort of think the mood will change a little bit. I don't know. I'm not suggesting there's an easy answer to it. I'm just saying I do hope people are considering the consequences of every decision and not thinking there are easy decisions here, because there aren't actually. It's a bad situation for everybody. So anyway, that's why I'm tired. I spend all day every day pretty much doing that. I've still got my engineering business to do, which I still go to because it is part of the supply chain for the NHS. So we have to go in and work. I'm allowed to go in and work and have to go in and work. And frankly, if I didn't, there wouldn't be a business to come back to. But I guess we're lucky in that we are allowed to. But it does mean I'm spending 3 days a week driving back and forward to Hertfordshire to so it's like a 2 or 3 hour commute each way to do that. And then when I'm back here on my other sort of 4 days, I'm doing these deliveries all day every day, and then in the evening I'm trying to keep up with Madhouse Dungeonworld work and various other bits and bobs I do. And on top of that, my political duties as a councillor at town, district and county level. And it's a lot of work, and I like a lot of work, but this is something new. Anyway, nevertheless, don't worry about that. So as for the game, well, actually the game's progressing pretty well. I'm pretty close to being ready to run it, and I thought I would get it out in a good timely fashion this week, but I've been contacted by postal players from America, many of whom are incarcerated, you probably know. Not all, but many, and they're an important part of the game, and they play great positions and they take part in the game, and I think that I value their participation. And the worry they've got is that the postal service is very disrupted in America, as it is everywhere, I think. And they're worried they won't get their turns in time. It's already difficult when you're in sort of a lock-up, if you like, to get your turns back and to and from them in 2 weeks. They manage, but it's always tight. And I tend to get a big bunch of their orders in almost on the last day. So what they're worried about is that they won't be able to at all, and the consequence of that is their positions will fall to pieces, and their investment in the game for many years, quite often, and some significant sum of money will be lost. And I don't want that to happen, and I don't think you guys want that to happen, because we value all the players in the game. So I did really want to keep a regular turnaround so that you all had something to do while you're quarantined at home. But I've had to extend the deadline a little bit because they're asking me to, and I want to try and help them. Not a lot. I'm going to extend it from 14 days to 17 days, give them an extra 3 days leeway. So I'm going to run it tomorrow, Sunday, and give them 17 days from then to get the turn back. The following turn will be 17 days again, and then we'll see, because that will represent, over a month. And who knows where we'll be then. We don't actually know where the world will be. I mean, you've got Trump in America saying things might get back on track by Easter, although, frankly, I think he's just trying to give people a bit of hope. I would imagine it'll be a bit longer than that, although I don't think we're talking 9 or 12 months. I certainly hope not, because there won't be much left of the economy if that happens. Not to mention the cost in lives and health. But I've got faith that the intelligence of the world will find a solution to this. They're working on ways to treat it as well as a vaccine, and I don't know how long either of them things will take, but I know that they're working hard. Tests are going to help a lot, because if everyone can test themselves, they'll know whether they can go to work or not, won't they? And you'll know whether you need to isolate. That'll make things a bit clearer. And various countries, including America, are talking about having a quick 15-minute test ready very soon. So that's a bit of a game changer. And, you know, there are also people saying it might be that this has been around longer than we think. Maybe it's been around since last summer. It might be that millions of people have had it and had very mild symptoms, which would mean that the fatality rate is much lower than they think it is, because they can only measure the people that come in really sick. But if you just have a mild version of the flu and then it goes away and you never even clocked up that it was COVID-19, then there could be millions of people like that. We don't know, nobody knows. But if there are, and some studies seem to suggest that might be the case, then that changes the whole nature of the way we think about the virus. But I don't know. What do I know? Doesn't it all to you guys seem like a movie or a game scenario? I mean, you know, we've seen movies like it, but the way that the fear has infected people seems to me, that's the most surprising thing to me. Not that you shouldn't be afraid of a disease that can kill you, but there are lots of diseases out there that can kill you, and they haven't had the same effect as this. And I suspect, even though I know it spreads fast, you know, and it goes after you, first and foremost, your elderly loved ones, which everyone dreads. And I think, though, that sociologists will study this for years to come, and hopefully long after it's passed by and it's just a horrible memory. But we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, back to the game. So I'm going to do some chat rooms this week. I did say on the Facebook page that I would tell you when I was going to do them tonight, but I'm not quite ready to do that yet. Something like probably Wednesday and Saturday, but I'll confirm this tomorrow, exactly what the dates are, and I'll put them on the Facebook pages and on the Yahoo group. But I'll plot kind of four chat rooms out, so that we can sort of get together and chat a little bit and have a bit of fun. What else? And talk about some of the characters again. We're almost finished them now, but we've got a few more to do, and we're finalising what characters will go forward into the game. I did want to talk about the sub characters now. I did months ago. I said that all sub characters are going to be 20p. It's not all sub characters actually. Characters that are summoned temporarily by spells are not chargeable. Characters that people keep for a very, very long time, in their hundreds by spells, are chargeable. Because really, some of the stone animates weren't meant to be. They were meant to be kind of occasional fearsome guardians, not something you had 400 of as gophers. And I did warn people this was coming, so you can't moan about it. I said it was coming. But I'm going to give a little bit of leeway. So certainly none of the estate characters are chargeable, because none of the standard ones that come as part of the estate, because you pay for it through the estate already. You don't get charged for them. All those things like the sort of things that do are permanent summonings, like pets, you know, cats, dogs, hawks, owls, guards, snakes, the sort of things you can hire and keep as your pet forever, summon stone animates. But things like things that someone like with monster summoning spells temporarily, they're not chargeable, so don't worry about them. And I haven't done them all yet. That's why I think people heard me say it and didn't sort of clock it, and then I did a few, but I've been gradually adding a few each turn, because it takes me a very long time to go through every monster that's ever created. There's something like 9,000 unique monsters in the game now. For me to scroll through every one, see if it's ever playable, and then give it a changing cost or a cost at all, takes a long time. So I don't do them all at once, and that's why you haven't seen them all done yet. But every turn a few more get added, and a few players have responded by dropping some of their subbies. Sorry about that, guys, but you must realise that that we've got to run a game and we've got to make something out of it, even if it's not a fortune. And that's the kind of the reason. A few people have made pleas to me about certain unusual sub characters, and I will consider those. I may never add the charge to them. We'll see. What else is there? Excuse me, I haven't lost my voice. I'm not COVIDing. Not Captain Trips. It's just a bit of a hoarse throat. I think I've been talking to a lot of people. I think it's the main reason. one of the things you find when you go door to door helping people is quite a lot of people you meet haven't spoken to anyone for a while and they want to have a chat. They don't want you to come close and have a chat. You're standing down the path and talking to them, but they do want to have a chat. So they're quite interesting. It's a strange old world out there, and there are some wonderful things going on. People really helping each other and doing really nice things, and there are some horrible sides to this. Like, I get frustrated about people who like whining about something they've seen someone do. I saw Joe down the road and he came out of his house 4 times today, but he's only allowed out once. Goodness gracious, guys. Has COVID-19 turned you all into a bunch of curtain twitchers and busybodies? As long as you are isolating, them going out 4 times is not going to infect you. And it's not going to infect your nan if she's also isolating. It's going to affect them and no one but them. And I know it's annoying if some people don't seem to be following the same rules as everyone else. But get over it. It's not helping anyone. Do you think the sort of person who thinks, do you know what, I don't care about this stupid virus thing, I don't think it's going to hurt me, I'm going down the pub with my kids. If you say to them, you're an arsehole, this, that and the other, is that going to make them more likely to want to do what you want? Or is it more likely for them to say, get stuffed, I'll do what I like? And I don't know, I just feel like it's bringing out the worst in some people. It's this people constantly calling for stricter and stricter rules. I saw somebody say something like, anyone who's out should be shot or should be tasered, And if they've people calling for market stalls to be closed, even though they're just the same as shops, really, and actually a bit safer probably because you haven't got the circulating air, you're in the outside. But people saying, no, shut them all up, everything should be shut. Only essential workers. What's an essential worker? If you're a nurse and you're driving to and from the hospital and your car tyre bursts, you need a mechanic or quick fit or whatever to replace it. But if quick fit weren't considered an essential service and have closed, they can't, right? If you're quick fit and you are an essential service and you need to buy the tyres from the tyre manufacturer, then those guys who work at that factory manufacturing tyres, they also happen to be essential, even if some of them are also manufacturing paint. It's essential because that business is making the tyres as part of its job. And if they're there, why would they not run the paint machine as well? If if those tyre guys can't get the rubber to make the tyres with from the rubber factory, and I don't know rubber factory, but you get the point. We're so interconnected that everything is essential. Perhaps not quite everything, but almost everything. And I suppose hairdressers aren't essential, but I don't know. Imagine a year down the line, everybody's got long shaggy manes, and because they can't get their hair cut, they have to start doing it with shears. Just let's have a note of caution here. We can be sensible and practice isolation and follow the government advice, which by the way doesn't require everyone, certainly not in the UK, to stay home. It just says, if you can't work at home, go to work, stay away from other people, come straight home. And that's how the economy keeps going, and we don't end up crashed so that everybody's out of work and there's no money and there's nothing to pay any bills, and the only thing the government can do is print money, which causes inflation everywhere. This is not a good world to be in. We do not want to head for this world. Think. I get off on one, don't I? So what else have we got? So a couple of players were saying to me on Facebook, all right, if we're going to have an extended deadline for Dungeonworld, what about if we have a game of something else, like Lizards? I can do that. If 16 of you are willing to play Lizards, I can do a turn every 3 days or something, or turn every 2 days, twice a week, something like that. I can do a fast Lizards game, which is it's a kind of a fantasy war game. Fairly simple. I would call it low to medium complexity. Takes a little bit of time to get the strategy, but the actual orders aren't too difficult. I've got the system. I can run that for you. It won't be any charge for it. We run it just as support you while you're isolated. So I can do that. I could run Necromancer. I could run Mortis Maximus. For Necromancer, I'd need 10 players. For Mortis Maximus, I'd need, it's supposed to be 40, but 30 would probably do to make it fun. Tell me if you'd like to play these. You're stuck in, you'd like to play them, you can manage a turn every couple of times a week. If I get enough players interested, I will start one of each of these games, or however many you want. I could start a couple of Lizards if 32 players want to play. It could be kind of fun. Revisit the old games. They're all still there. I can still run them. I had hoped I would kick off the endlessly delayed Demon Rift 3, but all of this driving around helping people is is not leaving me a very great deal of time to do additional new stuff on top of the Game 5 upgrades, which are going fine. And I've got a few people with problems with the NVE that I've said I'll fix, but at the moment, my programmer Duncan is isolated at home, so he can't come and do anything. And I've got to somehow get I'll probably just take the bits of code that people have sent me for him to have a look at, but I think he's kind of doing family time at the minute, so I don't know how much time he's got. We'll have to see. Oh dear. So it's all good fun. I wonder what you guys. I think the whole world has been short of toilet roll, but I've noticed shops seem to have toilet roll again now, which is a good thing, I guess, because for some people the virus creates a problem. Well, everyone says, why are they buying toilet roll? But actually, I was laughing actually because some people were saying, these hoarders, they idiots. But I think next week and the week after is when things are going to start getting tougher, because the shops, every day I go there, and I go there 7 or 8 times a day shopping for other people. Every time I go, it seems like the rules have got a bit more draconian, and you're required to do a bit more stress. And if you've got loads of people to help, and you're queuing up for an hour to get in and out of the shop, and washing multiple times, and all the various things you've got to do now, not only going one to a trolley and walking along a set guided path through past all stuff you don't want to buy, which takes ages. You get an hour. There's only so many people you can help. This is going to get worse. It's going to get harder to get things, not because of the virus, but because of the measures being put in to tackle the virus. And as that happens, people will start to get more and more worried. And what they do is they go and they buy lots of stuff because they don't want to be going back there every 2 or 3 days. They're being told the more contact you have, the more dangerous it is, and so they don't want to go back every other day. They're quite happy to buy a big chunk of stuff and go back 2 weeks. I actually think that the bulk buying, were it still possible, because obviously the supermarkets are limiting it now, but were it still possible, they would they would be doing it worse. More people would be doing it, and all these people saying you shouldn't have done that. I've seen some of those people going and trying to do it themselves because they've realised that it's quite natural for human beings to respond to trouble by stockpiling. I mean, we've evolved to that. It's not stupid. It might be selfish. We might prefer it if people to act logically to benefit the community, but that isn't what their lizard brain, if you like, is telling them to do. And I don't know. I think we're a bit too. We spend too much time telling each other off when what we should actually be doing is being nice to one another so that we can help people realise they don't need to panic and they don't need to be so afraid, and we're all together on this. And people say that, but then you don't see it in their later comments. They say, "Oh, well, we're all in this together," and then they go straight on to slate 7 people after that, and I don't think it's helpful. Yeah, I keep digressing, don't I? But it's a podcast. It's me rambling, and take it or leave it, I guess, is what I would say. I'm going to try and get back to doing a daily podcast now, at least while I'm well. I mean, all this travelling around, maybe I will get the dreaded beer bug, as some people call it, COVID-19, and I don't know what the future holds, but let's hope not. Anyway, so I'll do another podcast tomorrow night, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. We'll talk about what we're going to do in the future anymore. Please do get your requests in if you would like to do Dungeonworld or anything like that. And I guess that's pretty much everything for today, so I will talk to you later.